The Void Within, Chapter 5, The Blood That Binds. Vivian awoke to a silence so deep it roared. She was lying on cold marble, her body stiff, her head pounding with a slow, echoing throb. The scent of incense clung to the air, sweet, thick, familiar. A soft amber glow flickered across the walls, cast by sconces carved like weeping eyes. The chamber around her was stone, rounded and warm to the touch, pulsing faintly as if it breathed, as if it were alive. She sat up slowly. This wasn't her office. This wasn't the world above. She was below, deep beneath the Creed estate, in the inner chamber, a place she hadn't seen since childhood. A place Ambrosia had dragged her, back to remind her where she came from, what she belonged to. There were things a child should never see, and now those long-buried memories stirred. They moved like serpents, curling awake in the dark. At the far end of the chamber, the altar remained unchanged, polished black stone, etched with the crest of the void, a bleeding eye cradled in a coiled serpent. Vivian remembered the blood. She remembered her brother's eyes, her own screams. She staggered to her feet. She wasn't alone. Robes hung from hooks carved into the walls, ritual garments, untouched by time. Candles floated in the air, their flames flickering gently, casting shadows that didn't always match what they should. Below her, runes glowed, shifting in color, reacting to her. She turned toward a corridor she hadn't noticed before. It arched before her, lined with mirrors on either side. As she stepped closer, her reflections began to change. Each one showed a different version of herself, younger, older, some bleeding, some smiling with empty eyes. One reflection held a baby, Omari. Her eyes filled with fear. Another wore crimson robes. Blood dripped from her fingertips. "No," she whispered, backing away. But the mirrors did not fade. A sound reached her, soft at first, ethereal, a voice, dry, ancient, female. Blood remembers what minds forget. Vivian spun. No one stood behind her. Then the voice came again, closer this time, curling around her like cold breath on her spine. "We waited for you, child of shadow. You were never meant to run." The voice was everywhere now, and nowhere. "You carry my name. You carry me." A mirror shattered. From the shards, a shape began to rise, taking form slowly. Her face emerged like fog, becoming flesh. Magnolia Creed, Vivian's great-grandmother, the void incarnate, long dead, but here. Now her eyes were sunken, but still burning, her hair coiled like a crown of smoke. Her voice cracked through the chamber like silk torn by lightning. "Come home, granddaughter," she said. "There is no more hiding. There is only becoming." Vivian stepped back, but her body no longer fully obeyed. Her pulse slowed, her thoughts unraveled thread by thread. The necklace at her throat pulsed once. Then it began to glow. Omari sat at the massive desk in his new office, the Paragon Tower humming quietly around him like a well-oiled machine. The space was sleek, marble-accented, trimmed dark wood with gold fixtures. Too extravagant, too curated. He hadn't asked for any of this. He didn't belong here, but someone wanted him to believe he did. He turned the polished business card over in his hand. On one side, Paragon Collective, Omari Rhodes, special advisor to the chairwoman. The other, a symbol he hadn't noticed before, subtle, embossed in black foil. Not the serpent crest, something else, older or maybe deeper, a circle within a triangle. Not legacy, but initiation. He squinted. Had that always been there? Something wasn't adding up. Ambrosia had ushered him into this position too quickly. The red carpet, the reverence from certain staff, the wary glances from others. Some passed him in the halls like he was royalty. Others avoided eye contact altogether. He opened his browser and started a private search. The Paragon Collective's public history was vague, founded nearly a century ago by a group of visionary women determined to reshape the world from the shadows. What did that even mean? He dug deeper, cross-referencing anything related to the creed name. The search results grew darker the further he went. Rumors of secret ceremonies, missing persons, and one old headline from nearly 40 years ago. Socialite Miriam Creed dies in tragic fire. Family silent on details. Miriam Creed, Ambrosia's mother? He leaned back in his chair, mind racing. These weren't just eccentric family quirks. There was a structure, a system, and he was being absorbed into it. A knock startled him. One of the staff assistants peeked in, pale and anxious. Ms. Creed says dinner will be sent to your suite tonight. She wants you rested. Tomorrow's important. Important how? Omari asked. The woman hesitated. Legacy always is. Then she left. Omari stood and moved to the window, looking down on the glowing city. From here, the world seemed small, controlled. The card was still in his hand. The symbol now felt heavier. He pocketed it and whispered, "What the hell did I walk into?" He lingered at the window a moment longer, the city sprawling below like a puzzle with missing pieces. Then he turned, jaw set, and headed for the elevator. Whatever this was, it went deeper than he thought. Omari stood in the elevator of Paragon Tower, the hum of its ascent vibrating beneath his shoes. The building seemed more alive today, as if it were watching, breathing. He had told the assistant at the front desk that he wanted to get a better feel for the building's departments. Ambrosia had given him full access after all. No one questioned him. The elevator slid open to a floor he hadn't seen before. No directory, no welcome sign. Just a long hallway wrapped in shadows. The lights above flickered like they were caught between dimensions. Omari stepped out. This floor didn't feel like the rest of the tower. The marble beneath his feet was older, cracked in places. The walls had been repainted recently, but faint carvings still peeked through beneath the plaster, spirals and symbols that reminded him of the sigil on the business card. A door at the far end stood slightly ajar. As Omari approached, he heard voices, chanting, whispering. It stopped the moment he neared. He pushed the door open, but found nothing but a cold, dark conference room. No people, no sound, only a lingering scent of burnt herbs. He stepped back, unsettled. Maybe he imagined it. Maybe he didn't. He took the stairs down instead of the elevator. Another few levels down, he found the archives. Authorized personnel only, read the plaque. But his key card worked. The Paragon archives were nothing like the glass and tech polish of the tower above. These walls were stone, the air cool and heavy with dust. A lone woman sat at a desk, flipping through an ancient leather-bound ledger. "Can I help you?" she asked without looking up. "I'm looking for historical documentation, early founders, major projects, family legacy files, anything from the company's origins." At that, she looked up. Her gaze lingered. "You look like Miriam," she said softly, then blinked, shook her head. "You should be careful about the past. It has teeth." Omari forced a smile. "I have clearance." She handed him a folder. "Try this one." Inside, he found photos: Magnolia, regal and severe; Ambrosia, a child beside her; and another woman, soft-eyed, with the same jawline Omari saw in the mirror. Miriam, some pages were missing, others were entirely redacted. One document had a header, "The blooming of the air." Most of the text had been blacked out. Only a few phrases remained: alignment with the blood moon. Only those born beneath the new moon may inherit the voice of the void. Twins, veiled vessel. He closed the file slowly, heart pounding. The silence in the archive pressed in tighter now, like the walls knew what he'd seen. He didn't remember leaving, only the cold elevator ride back up, the way the shadows seemed to follow him into the lift. Later, Omari's suite. Now high above the city, he stood in front of the glass wall of his suite, hands in his pockets. Lights stretched to the horizon in quiet constellations, but they brought no comfort. Not after what he'd found. He opened his phone again. No messages, no missed calls. He hovered over Elijah's name, then locked the screen. Don't lose yourself trying to find where you came from. For the first time, he feared he already was. The card with the sigil sat on the table. He picked it up. It was warm. But Omari wasn't the only one carrying questions into the dawn. Cairo hadn't said much on the ride home that night. The limo was silent, the city flashing by in distorted reflections on the tinted windows, but none of it stuck. Not the neon signs, not the drone of traffic, just the memory of Omari's voice echoing in his chest. My brother. It felt too big to be real, too sudden to make sense. He'd barely slept that night. The weight of the truth and everything left unsaid pressed on his chest like a cinder block. Vivian hadn't spoken a word either. She just kissed his forehead, her eyes tired and distant, and disappeared into her room. That was almost worse than the shouting he'd expected. By morning, Cairo was at his desk, pretending to study, textbooks open, highlighter uncapped. But his search history was all family tree generators and adoption records. He didn't even know what he was looking for, just something to prove that the truth had shape, that it wasn't just a bad dream left clinging to his skin. He searched for Omari Rhodes. Nothing. He tried Vivian Carter, old aliases, birth records, still nothing. Then he remembered something Vivian once said in passing years ago. My maiden name was Creed. At the time, it meant nothing, just a name. Now it felt like a crack in the mask. He typed it in, Creed Family, Paragon Collective. And things started to appear. Not much, and nothing straightforward. Rumors, forums, urban legend tangents about old money, old power, whispers of the Creed matriarchs running a city within the city. One headline stood out, the Crimson Women uncovering the influence behind Paragon's founders. No names, no sources, just talk of rituals, bloodlines, and a private lineage that had shaped companies, policies, even lives for generations. Cairo leaned back in his chair, cold all over. Vivian had been different that morning. She didn't check in on him. No smoothie. No reminders to take his vitamins. She'd looked almost vacant, like she was moving through fog. That scared him more than anything else. He reached for his phone, hesitated. Omari. He had gotten his business card for the front desk receptionist. Could he even trust him? Did he want to? He typed, This is Cairo. Can we talk? Something's not right with Mom. He stared at it, then hit send. Omari's phone buzzed on the small coffee table in front of him, pulling him out of the trance-like fog. Unknown number. This is Cairo. Can we talk? Something's not right with Mom. His fingers hovered. He didn't know what to say, but he knew this was serious. He typed, I'm in my suite. Come through. The tension in his chest seemed to loosen just slightly. There was something about Cairo's message, something that stirred a protective instinct in him. The kid had no idea what was really going on, but he was starting to see the cracks. A little while later, Cairo knocked on the door. Omari opened it wordlessly and stepped aside to let him in. He was already half buried in shadows when Cairo entered, arms folded over his chest like armor. The skyline burned orange as the sun began its descent. Thanks for meeting with me, Cairo said, approaching slowly. Omari didn't turn around. What's going on with her? I don't know, man. She's, different. Like she's not even there half the time. I try to talk to her and it like she's looking through me. Omari's jaw tightened. His mind raced with the possibilities. He'd seen the way Vivian had looked at him, guilty, distant, like something inside her was unraveling. Has she said anything? Not much. But I'm starting to think maybe I don't know her at all. Maybe she's been hiding something big. I don't think she wants me to know. Omari exhaled. She's got a way of hiding things. That's nothing new. The truth hung heavy between them. Cairo dropped his voice. I've been digging. Family records, articles, message boards. I'm starting to find stuff. I need answers. He looked at Omari dead in the eyes. And I need your help. Omari turned slowly, feeling a strange pull. We both need answers. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell's going on, but we'll get there. A pause. We're in this together now. Cairo pulled a small, worn photo from his backpack. He handed it to Omari. That's us. Well, me as a baby. With Vivian, Omari stared at it, the edges of the memory fraying at the corners of his mind. Where'd you find this? In an old lockbox. She kept it, all these years. Omari held the photo like it might vanish. She left me, but she never forgot. Nope, Cairo said. She just buried it. The wind picked up. Omar looked at him again. Really looked. I don't know what Ambrosia is planning, Omari said, voice steady. But I don't trust her. And I think we're both caught in something a lot deeper than they want us to know. Cairo nodded. Then maybe we should figure it out. Together. Omari gave a slow nod. Yeah, together. Cairo nodded, his face set in determination. Let's figure out what the hell is going on. As they sat down to compare notes, the magnitude of their task was clear. Omari's mind raced, but a small part of him feared what the truth might cost. Later, after their plans were set in motion, they parted ways for the night, both knowing that their lives would soon be irrevocably changed by the answers they sought. Ambrosia sat at her desk, her fingers tracing the edge of an ancient tome that lay open before her. The pages seemed to pulse with untold power. The rituals were nearing completion. She could feel the energy rising. The walls of her office vibrated with it. The city stretched out below, a glimmering expanse of glass and steel. But her thoughts were far away, lost in the pull of something darker. She shut her eyes. The chanting began. Low, steady, like breath pulled from the bones of the dead. The words came unbidden, spoken not from memory, but from blood. The language of the void. The void was patient, it was relentless, and it was hungry. Ambrosia clenched her jaw, her fingers digging into the leather-bound tome. She had been raised for this, groomed for it from a young age. The rites, the secrets, the sacrifices, everything had been leading to this moment. She had felt the pull since she was a child, felt the weight of the legacy she carried. She could still hear her grandmother's voice in the back of her mind, like an ever-present shadow. You were always the weakest of us, Magnolia's voice whispered. You could not carry the blood the way it was meant, but the void does not care for weakness. It will take what is owed, and you, Ambrosia, will learn what it means to carry this burden. Magnolia had always seen her as less than, always reminding her of her failures. She could feel the pressure of those words, a constant weight she had carried her whole life. But now she would prove her strength. The void had chosen her, and she was ready to fulfill her destiny. The ritual was not just about power, it was about sacrifice. Omari and Cairo would be the vessels, whether they knew it or not. Their blood, their very being, would be the catalyst that brought the void into the world. Ambrosia had spent years preparing, gathering pieces, waiting for this final moment. She would not let them slip through her fingers. Not now, not when she was so close. Elsewhere, Vivian's penthouse, Cairo's room. Across the city, home in his room at Vivian's penthouse, Cairo sat with a pile of papers spread out before him. Old family records, letters, photographs. He had been digging for days. Each new discovery peeled back another layer of illusion. And with it, his understanding of the life he thought he knew. The truth was slowly revealing itself, but it was harder to digest than he had imagined. Vivian had hidden so much, so many secrets. He had tried speaking with her again, but her responses were distant, robotic. The warmth in her eyes had vanished ever since that day at the Paragon Collective when Omari entered their lives. There was something else inside her now, something that wasn't her. His phone buzzed. Omari, have you found anything new? Cairo stared at the message, then typed, I think Mom's involved in something. Something bad. I don't know what it is, but I feel it. He hesitated, then hit send. The words felt heavy, but there was an urgency to them now. He had seen the way his mother had changed, how her behavior had twisted in subtle but unmistakable ways. He couldn't ignore it anymore. The web of lies, of secrets, it was too much to ignore. But the more he dug, the more he realized that the truth was not something his mother would want him to find. Cairo's fingers tightened around the edge of the folder on his lap. Inside, family records, old letters. The more he dug, the more things didn't add up. He glanced down at a different document, one that had caught his attention earlier, a birth certificate, but not his. It was Omari's. For the first time, he felt the weight of everything he'd been ignoring. This wasn't just about his mother anymore. There was something deeper at play, the strange pull between his mom and this man. Omari, the photo, the secrecy, the way Omari seemed tied to everything happening around him. His stomach churned with the realization he wasn't just uncovering secrets about his mother, he was walking straight into something bigger, something far more dangerous than he'd ever imagined. As he sat on his bed, his phone buzzed. It was Omari. Omari, we need to go deeper. I'll keep digging, but we can't do this alone. Cairo read it twice. The connection between them was undeniable now, an unspoken understanding that whatever was happening, this was only the beginning. He typed back, we're in this together now, and there was no turning back. The message sent, Cairo stared out into the night, unaware that far across the city, something ancient was already stirring. Paragon Tower, Ambrosia's office. Ambrosia's eyes flicked open. The ritual was not yet complete, but it was close. She could feel the void stirring, its voice rising beneath the hum of the world, calling to her from the darkness. Her phone buzzed, a message from a loyal cult member. The inner circle was in motion. She smiled. Everything was aligning. Everything is falling into place, she whispered. They had tried to stop her. They had run, but they underestimated the void and the price it demanded. Her thoughts wandered to Magnolia, the architect of this madness. The weight of her grandmother's influence was heavy, but it was also a comfort. She'd told Ambrosia that she would be the one to finish the work. You're stronger than your mother, Magnolia had once told her. This world will bow before you. The blood will carry you to victory. Ambrosia's hand instinctively reached for the necklace at her throat, her grandmother's. It pulsed with warmth, an unspoken reminder of her grandmother's teachings. As if affirming her fate, she could feel her own strength building, her connection to the void deepening. She stood, smoothed the front of her dress. She glanced once more at the cityscape outside, the sprawling metropolis that would soon be an offering to the void. She whispered the old words, thy blood, thy soul, thy flesh, all bound to the void. There was no turning back now. The final phase had begun. As she moved to the door, her eyes lingered on the wall where the ritual tools were stored. Each one carried weight, pieces of the spell that would reshape the world. She walked into the corridor, certainty burning through her veins. Soon, Omari and Cairo would know what they were truly meant for. They would not escape the role written for them in blood. The door clicked shut behind her. The world continued to spin, oblivious, but the void was listening. This is the end of Chapter 5, The Blood That Binds. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe.